Good morning and welcome to today's webinar focused on building supply chain resilience and adaptability through digital transformation. This webinar is brought to you by Express Computer in partnership with IBM. I am Momita Dev Chaudhary, Special Correspondent with Express Computer. Well, historically, new technologies have chipped away at the source of friction and inefficiencies that prevented progress. The Silk Route connected east to west. Letter of credit established trust in the 14th century. In the 19th century, the telephone connected us in real time. The internet threw in hyperdrive, what was once a slow march to dissipate friction. Technologists and economists alike began to anticipate a world that was friction-free. Friction, in theory, could be digitized away. With transparency and trust, advances in technology are helping reduce business friction, elevate transparency as the new currency of trust, and enable end-to-end supply chain traceability like we have never seen before. So join us in this informative webinar as experts from IBM share how organizations can enable intelligent end-to-end supply chain visibility and transparency. Today, the need for supply chain visibility and resiliency is far more in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. So in today's webinar, we will understand more about how to get real-time intelligence and actionable recommendations that reduces disruption time from days to hours, and how to leverage AI with other technologies to proactively build supply chain resilience, how to minimize the complexity of supplier onboarding and collaboration, learn how our other customers are handling disruption and resolving issues faster while building trust and strengthening the supply chain. Create an environment for frictionless trade with the right partner by having the right information at the right time. But before we go ahead with the session, I will read out the webinar information. Well, the webinar is being broadcasted live and will be available as on demand. This is an audio-video webinar. We'll have poll questions in between, request all to participate in the same. We'll have a round of Q&A at the end of the session. You can send in your questions using the Q&A text box and we will address the same based on the time after the presentation. If you face any technical issues, please use the Q&A text box to convey your issue and we'll try to solve the same. If any of your questions are unanswered, we'll connect with you over email to answer the same. Also, a survey form will open in your browser after the webinar. Please fill in the form and we would love to hear your feedback. Well, that's all from my side for now. So without taking more of your time, may I please invite Mr. Laveen Naidu. Laveen is a frictionless supply chain executive within the IBM Sterling business unit. He has led multiple initiatives of economic significance across a number of geographies. His passion is to reduce business friction within several supply chain and compliance-related disciplines. Laveen is an active member of several international standards, technical committees, and has a wealth of experience in driving mass market adoption of standards and technological change. Welcome, Laveen, and it's over to you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. And I'd like to thank everyone for sharing their valuable time with us today. I'm sure we all agree that the pace at which change is happening in the current economy is incredible. Information needs to be not only shared, but co-created through collaboration across organizational boundaries in a trusted and transparent manner. The latest advances in technology are helping to reduce business friction, elevate transparency as the new currency of trust, and enable end-to-end supply chain visibility or traceability like we've never seen before. But how do we rapidly embrace this? Change takes time. Building solutions take time. And by the time we're ready to deploy solutions, the world has changed. So what can we do to rapidly, and I really mean rapidly, embrace the latest advances in technology to address the common challenges? In this session, I'll walk you through a recommended approach by using a few examples to illustrate. The agenda is quite simple. Firstly, we'll establish current and common situational context and what the complication is. Second, look at what are the key considerations and approach needed to transform and address these contemporary challenges. And third, we'll illustrate through examples. But before we get stuck into it, I'd like to ask you if you would please lean forward and participate in a 1 minute, 2-question poll. This will help fine-tune some of the content based on the priorities. I'll hand you over back to Mamta. Thank you.
Thank you, Levine. And here is your poll, audience. Well, the question is, what are your top 3 supply chain concerns? Please select 3 from here. I'll repeat the question again. What are your top 3 supply chain concerns? And the options are visibility or disruption management, trading partner friction or disputes, logistics, network issues, regulatory compliance or transparency, unpredictable demand, consumer confidence, fraud and counterfeiting, wastage, product quality or safety, or unable to meet sustainability targets. Well, if you think there are more than 3 options applicable to you, then you may please answer the upcoming poll as well. Well, we have the answer here from the audience with the highest percentage saying visibility or disruption management. So would you, Levine? Sorry, we'll bring in the second poll first. Okay. And the second poll is, with respect to adopting emerging technologies, what adoption category do you fall into? I repeat, with respect to adopting emerging technologies, what adoption category do you fall into? And you'll have to select 1 from here. The options are innovator, early adopter, early majority, late majority, very conservative, market conditions driving need to change. So audience, please come in and give your response. I repeat the question again. With respect to adopting emerging tech, what adoption category do you fall into? Innovator, early adopter, early majority, late majority, very conservative, or market conditions driving need to change? So audience, we are eager to hear from you. And we have the responses in front of us, with majority of you saying that market conditions driving need to change is the answer to this poll question. Over to you, Levine.
Thank you very much, Mamta. Just as an observation, what we're hearing in the market and what we've seen today from the polls is very consistent, right? We're seeing a lot of visibility and disruption management issues. There's a lot of issues around the logistics network and also unpredictable demand. And certainly in terms of the second question on adoption of disruptive technologies, certainly many organizations are looking at, well, how do we actually drive that change in our organization, right? So on to today's session. So let's look at your ecosystem. No business is an island. And this has always ever been the case. Your business is part of an ecosystem of business or trading partners. And if you take a bird's eye view of what's happening in your supply chain ecosystem and keep the perspective of you being in the middle of it, there's trading partners on either side. That is, multiple tiers of suppliers, customers, third-party logistics organizations, financial institutions, and other third parties. And let's take a look at the kinds of activities that take place in this ecosystem. Certainly, those trading relationships are established or maintained on a regular basis. Physical objects are created, harvested, transformed, and transported. Assets are deployed and maintained. Business transactions are conducted. Information is exchanged, and money changes hands. So what are some of the common challenges within organizations and across the ecosystem? There are certainly some common challenges, which many of you will be very familiar with. And without going through an exhaustive list, firstly, with trading partners and relationships, these include increased human errors and rejection rates, disputes, high reconciliation efforts and costs, a plethora of trading networks to deal with. Across business operations, there are often challenges with cumbersome technology or inflexible systems, the lack of feedback on the status of a process, disruptions and inefficient processes that create wastage and loss of value, which includes loss of revenue, increased cost of goods sold, or increased SG&A. The lack of visibility created by internal siloed or inconsistent information results in poor decision support And the lack of external visibility is further highlighted when the organization faces external market pressures driven by the need for trust, transparency, traceability, and sustainability. And as everybody alluded to, the inability to respond to disruption and ameliorate certain supply chain risks. If these resonate with you, then ask, what is this costing your business? How much money are you losing or leaving on the table? Let's take a look at the certainty challenge. Let's take a rather deeper look at the certainty challenge. We see volatile demand resulting in new demand patterns. A key question being asked by supply chain managers is, do we have the right inventory in the right location to fulfill projected demand? Secondly, the lack of visibility into inventory fluctuations. The key question asked there, are we facing out of stock events that are affecting our financial performance or ability to provide critical goods? Third, as you can see, there's issues with logistics networks. There can be logistics constraints resulting in a lower fill rate and on-time delivery, which are further impacted by constrained labor and a surge in delivery versus in-store. Are you able to get location intelligence and analyze conditions at hundreds or thousands of locations to ensure you get a more precise replenishment regime in place? Shifting supply networks with limited or no availability of raw, work in progress, or finished goods inventory, which results in the inability to meet supply or replenish. How do we keep inventory levels where they need to be going forward to reduce shortages in the future? Again, if these resonate with you, what is the cost to your business? So everything on the bottom of the screen is laid out quite nicely. There's neat little roads, buildings are well spaced apart. But in reality, let's see how the activities that we mentioned at the start of this session, where everybody's challenged with using traditional systems, we see that traditional systems were and are designed for a world where trade is focused on multiple bi-directional interactions. The exchange of information takes place between pairs of partners. It's very chattery. Case in point, the EDI world is about exchanging information between buyers and suppliers or senders and receivers. In this model, data is siloed within each company. It must be first requested and retrieval takes time. The exchange of information takes place between pairs of partners. So getting information from distant partners can require intermediaries, takes time and resources. A supply chain is not linear, as we all know. It's multidimensional, and that we now don't just operate in one business to another business world. We operate in a sharing economy. It's a sharing ecosystem. The need to share information with multiple parties. A significant number of transactions we find today, even though there's so much of digital advancement, are still paper-based, creating inefficiencies and opportunities for fraud. Everyone maintains their own transaction records, so inconsistencies among records take time and resources to resolve, often resulting in disputes and time to reconcile. The whole reason we have B2B integration in the first place is to synchronize systems across organizational boundaries. The lack of connectedness and visibility is the result of fragmented data across the supply chain. We've already mentioned the silos within each organization, particularly organizations who have excelled in implementing the supply chain operations reference model, where the focus has been on vertical integration, which invariably creates silos. So there's usually no end-to-end traceability and poor information sharing. Usually there are also multi-party visibility issues, which creates significant inefficiency across the ecosystem. And this has far-reaching impacts in some industries, such as inventory issues, overproduction, poor forecasting, stock-out issues, or surplus stock in the wrong places, etc. There is also variable data quality, resulting in lost transactions and manual reconciliation, and disputes, not to mention. Duplicate efforts and capabilities mean inefficient logistics, inability to automate at scale, pressures on fulfilling profitability. I'm sure everyone has heard of the acronym DIFOT or DIFOTF, delivery in full, on time, and error-free. All of these issues collectively adds to business friction and disputes. Dispute resolution between parties is a slow and tedious process, often impacting business performance, resulting in wastage, high costs, inability to reduce disruption response time, and ultimately customer experience. So given the multi-party style pairwise interchanges and interactions, business friction is then multiplied and amplified between a business and its trading ecosystem. So why have I focused on going through these challenges that most of you are already aware of, as we saw from the first poll? Well, it's just to emphasize that this is an ecosystem-wide problem, as most of you are experiencing it, and it needs to be solved from that ecosystem perspective. Individual solutions or to implement internal applications or systems can help a little, but doesn't make the supply chain or the ecosystem efficient. So how do we transform this approach to use disruptive technology to be more streamlined, to one where we don't rip and replace existing systems, where we complement existing investments? This approach must reduce business friction, and this includes friction with interactions between trading partners as well. It must promote interoperability with trading partners by using open standards. It should instill trust and business confidence and also help with discouraging fraudulent behavior. It must provide end-to-end traceability, improve visibility, and hence disputes and reconciliations. It must improve and incentivize collaboration. Participants in the trading ecosystem should all derive value and hence be willing to share data and collaborate. This is where the business model should be different from the continuous pairwise exchange of information. So is there a way for trading partners to co-create and validate information once and share that across their ecosystem with who needs to know to reduce friction and also contribute towards efficiency? So let's take a look at a disruptive technology and how well it's suited to the task at hand. Distributed ledger technology, aka blockchain, has been around for a while. Amidst a lot of hype and disillusionment, we at IBM have completed over 500 projects since 2017. And one particular case study I'll share with you today has over 300 high-profile organizations. Now, we're not talking about the cryptocurrency aspect. We're talking about the distributed ledger aspect. But first, let's see how blockchain's characteristics comes together to create a more trusted, transparent, and efficient data sharing platform, a new way for trading partners to collaborate and do business together. Firstly, being distributed, data on the blockchain is replicated, shared, and synchronized among parties on a distributed ledger without the need for a central administrator. Unlike owned and managed databases, blockchain provides an independent data sharing platform. It is immutable. Once data is entered, it cannot be deleted, unlike data in a database. Edits can be made only by appending new or updated information. With blockchain, you have a permanent record or audit trail of all data entered and edited. The transactions are verifiable and can't be tampered with, disincentivizing fraudulent behavior. Because blockchain provides an independent data sharing platform and it's immutable, participants trust it. And it's digital. While it's not really unique to blockchain, it's important to note that all data, together with the relevant business logic, being captured in a standardized way and shared across the ecosystem, goes a long way to improving interoperability and unlocks a number of gains in the ecosystem. Because every event and transaction can be captured and not be changed, the source or place of origin and the chain of custody, aka provenance, can be traced end-to-end and published in a transparent way. Capturing the standardized data improves interoperability between organizations, and the advanced digitization and sharing of this data as a single source of truth creates value for every participant and encourages collaboration. Rather than the bi-directional exchange of information, information is co-created and shared. It's a sharing rather than exchanging paradigm. This invariably reduces friction, helps resolve disputes, and increase efficiency across the supply chain. So blockchain's characteristics come together to create a more trusted, transparent, and efficient data sharing platform. So the first case study I'd like to share is IBM Full Trust. It's a business solution that provides secure access to end-to-end supply chain information via specialized modules. And the key features include easy onboarding, data that your onboarding team members will upload including GS1 or IBM Full Trust identifiers for food products, ingredients, and raw materials, and also for facilities or locations, such as processing plants, distribution centers, and warehouses. There's multiple options here, including self-service, guided self-service, and fully assisted. The track and trace module provides the ability for business transaction data to be uploaded, such as purchase orders, dispatch advices, or advanced shipping notices, as you may know them, and receive advice documents and event data, such as food, commission, aggregation, and transformation events. So basically, every single event in your supply chain can be captured. Then track and trace provides that inventory visibility and ability to trace products and ingredients up the chain and down the chain. There's instant access to digitized documents, which provides access to upload documents such as facility inspection documents, licensing certificates, lab test results, or any other related important document. The Advanced Insights module provides deep insights into supply chain efficiencies. You can analyze in seconds where and how your fresh product is in time, with inventory flow, average dwell time, time since harvest, and more. You can have fresher products and less waste for a more sustainable food ecosystem. There's, of course, extensive APIs, and it's SaaS, so no deployment of software. It's really a quick start from get-go. So looking at the key benefits generally achieved from a lot of our blockchain projects are significant reduction in document workflow. Knowing where inventory is and having that shared visibility increases order conformance. Together with a distributed order management system, the orchestration can be very agile. And a significant reduction in upstream and downstream supply chain traceability, more specifically in a particular example, which I'll refer to a little later, a reduction from 7 days to just seconds. IBM Full Trust is more than just a business solution, though. It comes with a network of participants, which is also growing. Today, there's more than 300 high-profile food producers and retailers using the solution. As you can see, some of those popular brands under that adoption curve. So let's look at a few of those brands that I mentioned in the previous slide. If you take Carrefour, they wanted to improve. Now, every organization adopts these kinds of technologies for most of the similar reasons, but some of them have some primary reasons. So Carrefour, for example, wanted to improve brand loyalty and trust. So together we implemented QR codes with chicken products that consumers can scan to gain more information about their source and quality. The campaign was a resounding success, leading to increased sales and greater revenue for Carrefour, as well as improved brand trust and customer loyalty. With Nestle Gerber Foods, the challenge was food recalls can diminish consumer confidence and lead to lost sale. Consumer packaged good companies like them have been impacted as product data replaces brand loyalty as a primary driver of consuming or consumer decision-making. So full food supply chain visibility was difficult for them because of complexities in their supply chain. Multiple tiers, multiple nations, multiple suppliers, and so on. So with IBM Full Trust, it was used to test tracing for Gerber Foods. And as everyone knows, Gerber Foods is baby food. So, babies are pretty important. We need to ensure that their foods are not contaminated. And the results we achieved with this was traceability information is available in seconds, not days or weeks. There's fuller traceability into supply chains, including the complexities of such a global supply chain across tiers, nations, and suppliers. And there's opportunities for supply chain optimization. Walmart is an interesting one because our original production pilot for Full Trust, the entire idea was conceived with the pilot with Walmart. The problem they had was there was an outbreak of foodborne disease, and it takes days, if not weeks, to find the source. Better traceability can help save lives by allowing companies to act faster and protect the livelihoods of farmers by only discarding produce from affected farms and not the entire inventory. So up and down traceability is needed. Up traceability is needed to identify, once an item has been identified as contaminated, you need to know where's the point of origin, where's the source. And then once you identify that, you need to identify which are the various inventory stocks or units at which nodes in your supply chain, where are they exactly located, so you can surgically remove them from circulation. So IBM Full Trust was piloted and subsequently used to trace the origin of over 25 products from 5 different suppliers. And this was the example where traceability was found in 2.2 seconds rather than the usual 7 days of going through paper documents and various systems, right? Now, all leafy green vegetable suppliers who are suppliers to Walmart are required to use Full Trust. With the Dole Food Company, the challenge was large amounts of data are collected during audits and never used because they are not documented and shared. There's lots of paper and handwritten records. This was exposed during the romaine lettuce E. coli outbreak. The solution, IBM Full Trust, was used to connect audit data to blockchain via a framework called the Trellis framework, an open source industry standard for organizing agronomic and compliance data using existing formats and processes. So the results were audit data was digitized, secured, permissioned, and shared via the blockchain solution, which brought in opportunities for new analytics and new insights on compliance data. They've stated their strategic direction that all divisions within the Dole Food Company will now be onboarded by 2025, which is pretty impressive. So let's take a look at a few other case studies. So we built an application called Blockchain Transparent Supply. I'm hovering my mouse pointer over that. It is a collection of common services needed for common supply chain use cases that's built on the Hyperledger Fabric, the IBM blockchain platform. So the common data standards are critical to ecosystem-wide interoperability. GS1 organizational, location, and product identifiers are used. GS1 XML for business transaction documents and GS1 EPCIS for supply chain events. Now, if an organization is not a GS1 member, IBM can provide similar equivalent identifiers to help them out. So other common services include federated identity, provenance, document sharing, entitlements, and all are exposed by an extensive set of rich and secure APIs. So Full Trust itself is a particular implementation of this blockchain transparent supply or BTS platform. It's built on these common services. So just to touch briefly on blockchain transparent supply, you can basically decide on the use case, build the business model, convene the network, and craft the rules of engagement. It can be used on other domains than food, such as container tracking, electronics, automotive, luxury goods, cosmetics, pharma, and other critical health goods. So we, IBM, deployed BTS on the cloud and branded it as Full Trust in a similar way that other businesses or business partners have used BTS to convene over 7 other networks to date, and I'll go through that in a minute. So firstly, with the wine network, participants of this network include vineyards, distributors, retailers, tech providers, and consumers. The problem statement basically was fraudulent wine is estimated to be a market of US $3 billion. Now, that's just in the US market, right? There's fraudulent wine in many, many other countries. We're seeing that on the rise in Asia Pacific. Wine requires careful handling and a temperature-controlled supply chain. Dispute resolution in the case of poor quality is difficult to resolve. Consumers want to know more about wine's origin and quality. They want to know about what kind of grape was used in the production of that wine. What were the conditions of the soil? What was the climate at that time? This is particularly with discerning wine connoisseurs, right? So the objective was to create a supply chain and to monitor a secure supply chain and to monitor environmental conditions for higher quality wine. The benefits achieved here is network members can share data to confirm temperature conditions in the wine supply chain and improve dispute resolutions. Consumers can access permission data to learn more about a wine's origin, authenticity, and journey to supply chain. The typical use cases here are provenance and authenticity. The second network is a tire distribution network, and the participants include original equipment manufacturers, distributors, and retailers. The problem here is the tire industry suffers from fragmented data across the supply chain. There is no end-to-end traceability and poor information sharing. Manufacturers overproduce tires on poor forecasting. Distributors acquire safety stocks, yet retailers suffer from stockouts. Dispute resolution between distributor and retailer is a slow and tedious process, often impacting business performance. So the objective here was to drive efficiencies through the supply chain to capture $2 billion worth of potential revenue, to provide end-to-end traceability and inventory views, and apply blockchain smart contracts to auto-replenish at potential stockouts at retailers, to also build dispute resolution features for tire returns between distributors and retailers. The benefits include providing end-to-end traceability for tires and integrated demand forecasting and provide dispute resolution, reduce administrative costs and financial losses associated with tire return disputes, allow for dynamic pricing, and automate stockout replenishments at retailers, building a basis for the distributors to provide value add and consigned inventory. The use cases include auto replenishment, dispute resolution, inventory optimization, and demand forecasting. With the seafood network, the participants include farms, suppliers, processors, exporters, retailers, and consumers. The seafood industry, particularly in the Scandinavian area, faced a number of challenges relating to demonstrating the authenticity, quality, sustainability, and provenance of their products. The objective was to create higher margins on trusted products by enabling consumer verification. The bets include aquaculture farms can use blockchain to demonstrate sustainability practices with retailers, restaurants, and consumers. Blockchain plus IoT enables real-time temperature monitoring to preserve seafood freshness, extend shelf life, and reduce waste. Consumers can trust the origin and authenticity via permission blockchain data and documentation. The use cases here were provenance, freshness, and authenticity. With the coffee network of Farmer Connect, participants included farmers, co-ops, traders, roasters, retailers, consumers, and certification organizations. The problem here was that fair trade practices and sustainable sourcing are major areas of interest. It's challenging to validate if products are certified, and the value gained from business often drives little value back to the source. The objective was to connect consumers to the farmers and enable sustainable circular economy. It's pretty cool when a consumer is satisfied, so satisfied with the product that they even provide an additional tip to the farmer. The benefits include participants from source to consumer are connected via a two-way permissioned information sharing platform. The consumers build trust in their brands about their fair trade practices and sustainability initiatives. It empowers local farmers and allows them to develop new microeconomies. Source communities gain much needed access to capital to help sustain their businesses. The use cases here were provenance, consumer engagement, inventory optimization. So you can see thus far that the use cases vary some of the primary reasons or challenges to address have varied as well. With IBM's own internal global financing unit, reducing dispute resolution times to unlock capital in a $41 billion supply chain, the blockchain technology is used to provide a single platform with permissioned and secure access, along with a very comprehensive visibility across the entire transaction life cycles for all parties. This allowed all stakeholders to prevent or speed the resolution of disputes, realizing administrative expense savings for all. Basically, with this internal implementation, 34 days were removed from dispute resolution time. There was a 22% released working capital across the supply chain. So there are other applications that we've been very successful with on blockchain that haven't been built on blockchain transparent supply, but built straight off the blockchain Hyperledger fabric, which I'll go through with you now. So one of the applications is TradeLens. I'm sure everybody's heard of TradeLens. So TradeLens provides real-time tracking shipment of goods across global supply chain checkpoints. If anybody's interested, we can send them a URL showing exactly which shippers, which bulk cargo operators, which ports in the country have all adopted TradeLens. So it provides the digitization of documents while providing security amongst business partners to decrease the amount of time spent in transit and lower waste and cost. With them, there was a 97% reduction in document flow time on an ultra-large container ship. About $5.4 million is saved on average. So this is based on labor and processing associated documents, which carries up to about 18,000 containers. So the savings amounted to, on average, $5.4 million. With WeTrade is actually an innovative blockchain platform developed by 12 European banks that aims to create a transparent, secure, and simplified trading environment for businesses and banks. WeTrade is effectively building a convenient directory service for trade where companies can simply search on the platform for appropriate trading partners, enter discussions, and decide to do business by eliminating or streamlining steps in the trading process. This includes identifying a reputable partner, sourcing trade finance, ensuring regulatory compliance, and chasing up receivables. The company is making cross-border transactions faster, simpler, and more transparent. With Trusted Supplier, IBM is in the process of adopting Trusted Supplier for all its suppliers across the globe. In today's world of supply information management, speed and risk mitigation are tremendously important in establishing relationships or partnerships, so critical to business growth and success. It's a lengthy process rife with inefficiency and unnecessary costs for everyone. I'm sure everyone experiences friction and challenges with vendor management. So Trusted Supplier creates a trusted source of supply information and digital identity that simplifies and accelerates supplier onboarding and lifecycle management. So suppliers enter that information once, it's validated and verified once, and it's shared with whoever they want to share that information with. So it allows these procurement organizations permissioned access to pre-verified supplied information with a trust that is guaranteed with cryptographic security. And data providers and other third parties enhance the ecosystem by providing that notary and validation service. The last case study I will share with you is the Japan rental company. They hold the #1 share in the pallet rental business in Japan. Most companies from grocery and household item industry use their pallets. The company has two major objectives. One is to eliminate manual paperwork, and the other is to help the clients capture and leverage their supply chain data. In Japan, almost every company in the retail logistics sector uses pallets from Japan Pallet Rental. The company is working with our services team to integrate IoT technology into their operations. It is also building a collaboration platform based on IBM blockchain platform to promote data sharing amongst various players in their supply chain. They believe that their efforts at reducing paper-based transactions and sharing data across the industry will contribute to helping the country's economy and help address the labor shortage, and will save time and money within the Japanese logistics sector. So what did we cover? We covered an approach like blockchain transparent supply, which is reusable and repeatable across multiple use cases, across multiple common challenges in the supply chain space, is an example on why blockchain is very relevant to address today's supply chain challenges and participant demands. Today's customers are needing to handle disruptions and resolve issues faster. They need to be very resilient. There is a need to build trust and stronger relationships and strengthen the supply chain. So your business friction can be reduced. Trust in your network can be gained, and visibility or traceability like we've never seen before is achievable. We've proven this through so many case studies and over 500 projects that we've completed over the last 4 years. It doesn't need to be the usual steep learning curve when a new technology, well, not so new technology, hits the market, when one takes a cost-based approach of deploying these repeatable solutions that's available in the market. So what's the call to action? Firstly, obtain sponsorship for change in your organization. As many people indicated, that there is a need to drive change. Begin internal briefings and workshops to scope out the low-hanging fruit. What's your use case? Where are you experiencing the most friction? Where are you leaving money on the table? Where are you losing revenue? Where's your cost of goods sold increasing? Where is profitability flatlined? These are the areas where we should look at immediately. And engage. Well, although it's cost and really quick to adopt, what's the catch? There's got to be a catch, right? It can't be as easy as that, right? Well, there is some work to do, and that is purely with engaging your trading partners, engaging your ecosystem. Once your immediate tier one partners see the value and the benefits, remember there's value for everybody, they will engage their trading partners and so on. So this will feed a ripple effect. And this is basically how the Full Trust network has gained so many high-profile organizations over the past few years. And thank you very much for your attention, and I'll hand you back to Mamta to coordinate the Q&A.
Thanks, Laveen. It was wonderful to hear from you. And with this, of course, we have come to the Q&A session. So, Laveen, we have a couple of questions. So the first one is, do we need to run a blockchain node? What skill does an organization need in order to adopt the approach?
So there's actually, by creating this as a SaaS capability and as a COTS solution, there are minimal skills needed to adopt the solution. But those minimal skills are actually important skills. So I shouldn't make them look like they're very little now. And it's mainly around engaging your trading partners, sprucing up your vendor relationship management or supplier relationship management and customer relationship management capability, right? So it is SaaS. There's nothing to buy and install. You certainly don't need to run your own blockchain node, and you can leverage the out-of-the-box capabilities, right? If you wanted to, you could take things to the next level of automation and run your own node for certain custom business rules or smart contracts. But I wouldn't recommend that on day one, because there's a lot of out-the-box features, and you can get maximum value out-the-box features. And once your maturity improves, then we could look at, is there any further advanced automation or validation or business rules orchestration that you can get benefit from by deploying your own smart contracts, right? So there is some capability needed, not for me to marginalize that, right? The capability needs to be more on the business end, right? Vendor and customer engagement, relationship management skills, which every organization needs anyway, right? Without that, you won't be operating as an organization, right? So training and onboarding materials and services are available to support. And even capturing the data, there's multiple options. You can upload data via templated spreadsheets if the API or IT integration is not available to many organizations. The use of APIs, so really the only skill is to be able to call APIs and system integration, right? And lastly, there's also third-party mobile-first applications that make it easy for people to interact with Full Trust on the go whilst you know, in a truck or on a ship or whatever, right, to feed data into the solution. And this mobile-first application is available from certain IBM business partners. Back to you, Mamta.
Shalaveen, thanks for this. And the second question is, what if the EDI, understand it's electronic data interchange, is already used for purchase orders and shipping notices for a significant number of suppliers? Are you advocating that those suppliers change their systems?
It's certainly not. I mean, so as part of my presentation, I did say you don't have to rip and replace, right? So if you are receiving documents via EDI, there's no need to force change upon the suppliers. If you're sending POs and receiving notices and receiving advices, there's no need to force them to change. As we know, generally buyers or customers drive adoption of channel solutions with their suppliers. In this case, existing approaches can be complemented. What can be done is if you're receiving any documents via EDI, you can just upload via the APIs on your end once you receive the documents on behalf of your suppliers, right? So there's less imposition on them. And the idea to upload these is so that you've got the one place where you can actually get comprehensive visibility and you get the advanced insights and the tracking and tracing, right? So, do note that the solution is more comprehensive than just EDI docs, right? Because currently nobody captures supply chain events such as aggregation, transformation, harvesting, and IoT-based transport between supply chain nodes, right? So this solution actually captures those key events, right? Which is necessary for comprehensive traceability. Another point of differentiation is since this provides value to all participants, typically with an EDI solution, you're only collecting EDI documents with your immediate tier one suppliers, right? But this solution captures information across the entire ecosystem, right? So it's comprehensive in terms of the various kinds of information that's captured, but it's also end-to-end in terms of capturing information across every node in the supply chain. How else can you actually trace provenance all the way back to the point of origin and view that full chain of custody? Back to you, Mamta.
Sure, Laveen. Great to know that. And, we have another question from Yogesh. He wants to know how to improve last mile delivery.
So last mile delivery, we actually have really mastered that capability, right? So, delivery is part of a fulfillment process, right? Auto orchestration and so on, right? One of the things we've included is artificial intelligence algorithms as part of our order optimizer module, which works with our order management solution or any other vendor's order management solution or any in-house order management or fulfillment solution, right? So the order optimizer actually runs through a bunch of advanced analytics algorithms. And one of the things we can also do is add additional predictive and prescriptive analytics in our new supply chain suite that's about to be released in the next month or so. It's actually not a new product, but we just re-architected a lot of capabilities to provide a holistic approach to integration of what's in analytics. So more advanced predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics in terms of next best action, route optimization, and so on can be included as well.
Okay, Laveen, your next question is from Rahul. It says, can you please explain the KEPOR, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, case in details, how the traceability program works through blockchain and Full Trust?
Sure. So as you know, every supply chain has multiple nodes, right? In one node, you might have, for example, in the chicken case, you will have a chicken farm that grows the chickens. What happens is they also feed the chickens, and the chickens get processed, right? So what happens is every event that happens in that entire end-to-end process gets captured into Full Trust, right? So an event such as when the chicken is born, when the chicken is raised, when the chicken is fed, these are all GS1 EPCIS events. So they're called, there's different types of events. There's commission event, when something is created. There's aggregation event, when something is collected and packaged. There's disaggregation events, when something is broken apart or separated. There's transformation events, when things are changed or packaged from one form to the other. Processing the chicken is a transformation event. And there's observation events, when items are transported from one node to another, or when various environmental conditions are monitored, like temperature changes, humidity changes. Those are all observation events, right? So every one of these events are capturable in the Full Trust solution. So along the chain, all the producers of information, or the actors in every node in the supply chain, capture this information, right? So when the chicken is fed, what it's fed, whether it's fed on antibiotics or what drugs it's fed, what nutrition it's fed with, how it's processed, when it's packaged into a particular form, when it's put into a carton, when it's put into a case, when it's put into a pallet, when it's put onto a plane or a truck. Every one of those events are captured, right? And because every node or every participant in that chain gets value, because customers, through customer loyalty in Carrefour, it's increasing sales. So that value actually transfers back down the chain, right? So this encourages people to actually participate. The entire Carrefour supply chain is encouraged because that entire supply chain derives value from capturing this information. Does that answer your question okay?
Sure, I think it did. Thank you so much, Naveen. And with this, we come to the end of the Q&A session. Is there any concluding remarks from your end?
Look, yes. I mean, what I touched on today was just a drop in the ocean of capabilities, not just from blockchain transparent supply, but the entire blockchain platform as well. As I said, we've completed over 500 projects. At some point, every organization is going to be impacted by or be a member of some blockchain network in some form, shape, or the other. Organizations are going to change from their chattery, bi-directional exchange of information to a sharing, circular economy, sharing network kind of thing, right? The technology is very mature. We've got trusted brands using this technology. So there's really minimal risk in adopting this technology. There's risk in not adopting this kind of technology because there's risk in the supply chain from a sustainability, provenance, traceability. Just look at each of your countries and see how much of food recalls have happened in the last 12 months, right? So it's very relevant to contemporary problems in the supply chain. Thank you, Mamta.
Thank you so much, Naveen. That was indeed a great session, I must say. It was really exciting to know all the insights on building supply chain resilience and adaptability through digital transformation. Well, I thank you, Naveen, for sharing such interesting and useful insights. I'm sure the audience has found many key takeaways from today's virtual conference. Well, a survey form will open in your browser audience after the webinar ends. Please fill in the form, and we would love to hear your feedback. I also thank the audience for your interest and time today. If you want to know more, please contact the IBM team. The contact details are there for you on the screen. So have a nice day and stay safe. Thank you so much.